Okay, so yeah, tonight we want to welcome Patrick Relman. Is that how you say it?
It's real, like real and then min, Riehlman,
Riehlman. All right.
real man.
He is a four-time elite coach with a dude that's four-time elite. That's super impressive. And he's got 3,000 coaches in his downline. He is an SC legend with 50 consecutive months, and he's also a member of the Millionaire Club. So I got the team excited because I told them your topic was, how you built this business without Facebook. And I know there's a lot of coaches who are like, how do you do that? So, if you want to share your story and talk to us about that or whatever,
Yeah.
whatever you do now, that's cool too.
All right, cool. So I wouldn't say that I did it without Facebook. I would say that I did it without posting publicly on Facebook. So what I did was I started like a private Facebook group of my own, and I would go, I'd reach out to customer leads that I was getting. And I would go into different fan pages on Facebook, like P90X fan page and Sandy fan page back when, we were allowed to do that and reach out. And these people, they didn't have any coaches and they'd like just burn the stuff or, bought it at a garage sale or something. So I was going into those kind of fan pages. I was going into, some fan pages of some local town. Like in my town, we had some little fan pages and some of the closer cities. I'd go in there and connect with people, basically trying to connect with people that I had things in common with. And start a conversation. And I would just say something like, hey, like, I don't know if, you'd be into it, but I got this free little Facebook group. It's just a little community where we're posting our workouts and sharing recipes. And, I can throw you in there if you want to check it out. If that's something you want to see. And they're always like, yeah, sure, man. Like, throw me in there. I'd love to, see what's going on. So I would just go on Facebook. Like I'm a CPA. Like I went to school for accounting and, worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers in Boston for a while. And so while I was like working full time, I would put a little bit of time into the business, kind of just going into different Facebook groups and connecting and then inviting them and adding them to my own little group, and then what I would do with the people in the group is, once they were in there for a few days, I would just message them and I'd say, hey, what do you like about the group so far? And just see whatever they liked about it. I'd talk a little bit more about that. And then I'd say, hey, I'm glad you're in here. I think, the other members are really, going to benefit from having you in here. Would you mind, taking on, a little bit of like a co-leader role? Nothing crazy, just feel free to post positive stuff in the group and encourage the other members. Would that be cool? And they were like, yeah, sure. That'd be great. And so that was great for three reasons. One, it made them more active in the group. It made them feel like they had a role. Two, it benefited the rest of the people in the group because they had one more person that was encouraging them and interacting and posting positive stuff. And three, it helped me figure out like who I wanted to reach out to about the coaching opportunity, who took that co-leadership role, seriously. And because I was, adding people from my customer leads, and because I was going into like P90X and, the Instagram, or the Insanity fan page, these were people that already had started using the products. They already had this belief in the products. So they had a little bit of belief. They got in the group. They liked the community. They liked being a co-leader and encouraging the other members. And I would just say, hey, like, you're doing an awesome job in the group. Like, you're kind of already doing what I do a little bit. Like, have you ever considered, doing what I do? And I would just kind of start the conversation that way. And if they'd say, I haven't, like, what is it? Or they'd say, no, I haven't considered it. I would send them like a little video. I used to use like the introducing Team Beachbody video, and I'd say, hey, just check this out, and then I'd always follow up and say, hey, what do you like about it? What'd you like about it? And now I have a video on my YouTube that's just called, what is a Beachbody coach? I use that one now instead. But yeah, I'd send them the video, and then I'd get them, on a group message with like 4 other coaches on my team. And I'd say, hey guys, I got so-and-so on here, would you mind sharing what you love about coaching? What do you love about it? So, and they'd all share, and we started doing it so often that we would just kind of have our little story saved so we didn't have to type it up every time someone put us on a group message. And so these people got to hear the perspective from 4 different people that were, loving the products and loving the business and the coaching thing. So, that was really helpful. And then I would just hop on the phone with them. And again, I never try to throw facts at people. I always try to ask them questions. So I'd get on the phone and I'd say, so tell me, what do you like about the group so far? Or, before even that, I'd say, where are you from? Tell me a little bit about yourself. What do you do for work? And then I would talk a little bit about, what kind of history they had with working out, what kind of their goals they had, what they liked about the group so far, what stood out to them on the group message. Was there anything in that group message that really stood out to you most? Anyone in there that really you kind of connected with? What did you like about the video the most? And then just kind of go from there. I never try to twist anyone's arm to do this. I never feel like I'm bothering anyone when I'm doing this. I'm honestly all I'm trying to do is just inform them just so they can make their own decision. So I do that with all those things: the group, that little community, the video, the group message, and then getting them on the phone and just asking them some questions. And you know what? By the time they've used the programs, they've been in that group, they've been on that group message, they've watched the video, I've had a conversation with them, they're going to know, whether or not if this coaching thing is a good fit for them. And if it is, great. And if it isn't, that's great too. So that was kind of my approach, in the beginning. And then, we stopped being able to go into the P90X and Insanity fan pages. So I started to go into other groups, other groups that weren't Beachbody related, and I would add them, find people and add them to my free group, and I would start doing the same thing, like co-leader, and then introduce them to coaching if they were doing really well with that. And they would sign up as coaches, but what I found was, because they didn't have that love of Beachbody products yet, they didn't make great coaches. So in the beginning, that system worked because the people I was adding to the free group already had that belief in the products. Then when I started just going into random groups, then it didn't work as well. So I said, all right, I got to get people to fall in love with these products before I start introducing them to coaching. It's just not going to work otherwise. So that's when I said, all right, I'm going to do this challenge group thing where people have to go and, buy something to get in there. And, I would add them to the free group first. And then they would get to see people that had been in a challenge group and come back into the free group and talked about Shakeology and the workouts and all that. So they kind of got familiar with it. So then when I'd reach out to them about the challenge group, they had already kind of seen me posting in that group about what I was up to. They saw other people posting about the products and things. So when I reached out about the challenge group, it wasn't like a big shock to them. They kind of had already seen what was going on, and they were kind of interested in learning more about it.
So can you talk more about what kind of groups did you go into? Were these Facebook groups, or are these, did you use some other forms of social media? And then how do you find people in these groups, to start conversations with?
Right. So, I'd go into the Tough Mudder Facebook page. I'd go into the Spartan Race Facebook page. I'd go into the Biggest Loser Facebook page. It wasn't a group. These are just all pages. And I would click, on to see who had commented on the posts in the group. And I would just kind of read through them and just look at profile pictures and just message people, and I would say, hey, I saw that, we're both interested in fitness, and, I have this, free community on Facebook where we're sharing workouts and recipes. And I think it'd be something, that you'd fit right in. You'd love it if I can, and then I would wait for them to respond. And I would send, I would just kind of go down the list of whoever had commented and just send it. And, a lot of times, people didn't see it because I wasn't friends with them. It would go to their other folder. But a lot of time, I had a good amount that would see it, and they would reach out to me. And, I kind of called it the 2% club, because I'd post in my coach group about it. I'd be like, hey guys, welcome to the 2% club. Only 2% of the people I've ever sent just a blind message to, have ever responded to me. And that might sound crazy, 98% failure rate. Right. But that 2% are the people that got into my little Facebook group that created this awesome community we have. That 2% are the people that got into my challenge group. That 2% are the people that became the coaches on the team that are helping all these other people. And so welcome to that 2%. That 2% is all you need, you know? And so people they got used to having a very high failure rate. They just understood that's kind of how it was.
I mean, I love that idea because I've always heard coaches, you know, a lot of top female coaches who talk about going into groups just to friend people, right? So they friend people because they want them to look at their timeline, right? Because they're posting on their timeline. But since you weren't posting on your timeline, and I know a lot of people can't post on their timeline because of their jobs or maybe they're afraid to, but you just went in and you just messaged them all, which is great, you know, because no one should be afraid of just messaging somebody, right?
Yeah, all I was doing was, I saw that they were, interested in that kind of, that different types of workouts, and they're trying to get healthier, whatever it was. And I would just invite them to a free community, I think a lot of people would like to be a little bit healthier, but there's no one really in their life that's trying to live a healthier lifestyle. So they have zero support system. So, me reaching out and inviting them to just a little private group, people loved it, and they still do. Like they got a lot out of it. All of a sudden they're in this little private Facebook group, and they didn't have to buy anything to get in there, but they're surrounded by all these, like-minded people that are just normal, down to earth people that are trying to just, eat a little bit better than normal and trying to work out a little bit more than they usually do. And people loved it. It's just that little bit of community.
So was this just a general group and you invited people in to do any type of exercise, or did they have to be doing a Beachbody program?
It was anything. So, and every day before I went to bed, I didn't really have to do a whole lot in this group, to be honest. Like I would go and I would do those, I would send those messages to people, that didn't take a ton of time. And then in the group, all I would do is just before I went to bed, I would write, like tonight's Wednesday. So before I went to bed tonight, I would say Thursday, what was your workout today? So, the early risers tomorrow morning could comment with their workout. That was really like the kind of the foundation of the group. It's not anything crazy, but that bit of consistency, was what kind of everyone kind of looked forward to, commenting and reading other people's workouts. And I would post other things, in there once in a while. It was always with the day of the week, and I'd find some motivational quote or photo to use, as I posted it. And I think, people, I think the thing they're looking for in a quote unquote leader is someone they can trust that's going to show up every day, nothing really more than that. So the fact that they saw me just posting that little thing every day that took me 2 seconds, they looked at me as someone they could trust, so when, I would reach out to them about being a co-leader, they were like, oh man, like I'm in, like, that's so cool. You're reaching out. I always worried though. I was like, I wonder if anyone's going to post in here and say like, I'm excited to be a co-leader. And everyone's like, I'm a co-leader too, but no one ever did. So I don't know, but,
you said that you started converting them into challenge packs first, right? Or getting them into loving the product. So how did you take that step,
Right. So then, then I started to decide, all right, I'm going to just continue to do this free group and keep, adding people to that and running that thing. And then once a month, I'm going to try to do these little challenge groups. And you know what, like, honestly, I didn't start doing challenge groups until I was already making 6 figures with Beachbody. Like I had already quit my accounting job. And then I was like, I think I need to start doing these challenge groups. And then, that's because that's right when they said we couldn't really use the P90X and Insanity fan page anymore. I was like, man, I just quit my job and there's all my leads gone. So I started, I started using Instagram right around, when I was leaving my accounting job. And so I would just search for hashtags that were fitness related. And I would, see photos that caught my eye, and I would private message people. And it's the same thing I was doing on Facebook. I'd say, hey, like, saw your photo, loved it. It looks like you're really into fitness. I got this, I don't know if you're on Facebook, but I got this private group. It's like a community. We're all like sharing and pushing and motivating each other. And, you know, people would message me back and, you know, they'd say, yeah, I am on Facebook. And I'd send them my link or a friend request, and I'd add them in there. But then, yeah, so then I was like, all right, you know, I'm getting all these people in the group now, but I need to, a lot of them are now from Instagram and from all these other pages and they've never really tried Beachbody products. So I got to start doing these challenge groups now to get them to fall in love with that. So what I did was I just started doing the 5-step, you know, Tommy Migrant 5-step invite process. And, I private message the people in the group, in my little private group each month. And I would say, hey, you know, I'm going to be running a little private group that's going to be like here. This free group's kind of like the starter phase, like the free community. And here's like this upgrade where it's like really, really dialed in with your accountability. And it's everyone that's going to be a smaller group. And the people that are in that smaller group are going to be even more like focused. So, you know, if you're interested in that and you want to try, you know, Shakeology and a set workout program, you know, I'd love to have you in there with us. And so, you know, that's that 5-step invite, you know, I'd say, and then if they'd say, you know, tell me what is it? And I'd say, well, it depends. Like there's a couple options, you know, do you mind if I ask you a few questions, you know, where you're at and, you know, what your obstacles are, what your goals are. And we just have a conversation, you know, about those questions. And so I had 2 screens. Like I had, you know, I'm sure probably some of you guys love having two computer screens. So I had one screen that was my Facebook inbox and one screen was my 5-step invite script. And so I would always every day just go into the bottom of my inbox. I'd scroll all the way to the bottom because those are the people, you know, that the most time had gone by since I had heard from them or since I had like messaged them last. And I'd start at the bottom and I go, okay, like I sent this person step 2 days ago and they haven't responded. So I'd go copy the follow-up and paste it and send it. And then I move up to the next person. I'd be like, all right, this person, I sent them like step 1. They haven't responded in 2 days. Grab the follow-up, paste it, send it, move up. Okay, this person has responded to step 3. Let me go grab step 4 and send it to them. And I would just kind of every day just work from the bottom up. And I was just very diligent on the follow-ups and moving them through that invite process.
I do the same thing, but I use a spreadsheet. So you didn't use any kind of spreadsheet or write them down someplace. You just went to the bottom of your inbox but then you got all your other conversations in there as well, right? Just team members, coaches, family.
Yeah. So then when that, you know, when that started like really ramping up, you know, it definitely, it gets harder and the follow-ups like aren't as, you know, I'm not as like great at making sure I'm following up every 48 hours, but I'm still like pretty on top of it, you know?
Hey, Patrick, I'm have you step back just a bit. When you first started your free group, how long did it take before your free group started to produce? You know, when people really started to engage? Because I know a lot of new coaches and a lot of struggling coaches sit there and go, "Well, I have this group, but nothing ever happens with it. I can't." You know, so how long did it take before your group started, and did you have to kind of nudge and push, you know, certain ways to get that thing to start rolling the way that it is now?
Yep. The number one thing was asking people to be co-leaders, you know, like giving them that assigned role really made them step up and start, you know, posting their workouts more often and posting positive stuff and liking each other's comments. So, you know, in the beginning, it was me just commenting with my workout, you know, every day. And then when I started my own coach group, you know, it was just, I would every day and I would do the exact same thing. It was like, you know, Monday, how many people did you invite today? You know, like how many follow-ups did you do? You know, and I'd be the only coach that would comment, you know, for probably like 2 or 3 months. But I just was like, I'm just going to do it. Like, I'm going to keep doing it. Like, this is my lifestyle. And if other people want to get on board, great. And if they don't, that's fine too. But, you know, I knew that it was just inevitable that eventually I would find, you know, some people that wanted to do it, you know, with me. So I just kind of kept doing it. But yeah, that co-leader role was huge to kind of get people more involved in the free group. I think people really loved having that role. I'm trying to think if I did any other things to like make it really more active, but really it was just that every day, that daily post, and then asking them to be the co-leader. And also, like, when I'd add someone new, I'd always ask them to introduce themselves. And, they never would right away, but I would follow up and I would just make sure, hey, would you mind just kind of introducing yourself? And that got more people kind of interested in reading everyone's little intros, and they got to know each other a little bit better. That helped kind of increase the participation too.
So I can see as you brought people in, like you would take them through that 5-step invitation process, right? After,
Yep.
Would you do that right away, or would you wait a certain amount of time before you did that?
It kind of depended on the person, I think. And it was, I don't think I waited too long, like I was pretty just kind of straightforward with it, but like in a relaxed way. I would invite them to a challenge group. Like I'd invite them to a party on a Friday night. Like I wouldn't, I think when some people invite to a challenge group, if they invited the way they invited to a challenge group, if they invited people to a party on Friday the way they invited to a challenge group, it would probably sound something like, hey, I'm having a party on Friday and you got to drive like 0.4 miles down this road and take a 45-degree right angle turn. And then when you pull in the driveway, you got to park with your right tire on the grass. And then when you open the door, there's probably going to be there's a bathroom on the right. And that's not how you invite someone to a challenge group. It's not how you invite someone to a party. So I would just throw it out there and say, hey, like I got this little 21-day accountability group. We're starting and I'd love to have you in there. I think it'd be fun to do together. If you're interested, I can send you some info. And all I'm trying to do is get them to just ask me, what is it? What is it? And then the second step is I just say, there's a few options. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions, about your goals and what you're struggling with? And if they ask me what the price was, I always would say, it depends. There's a few options. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions? Because if I just throw the price out there before I get to ask them questions, they're gonna think to themselves, okay, this is one more thing that I'm gonna spend money on that's not gonna work because nothing's ever worked before. But if I get to ask them those questions and then I get to go to the third step where the questions really happen and I dig deep on their answers, now they start to see that this isn't like anything else they've ever done before because they've never had me before. They realize they're not just buying a challenge pack. They're not just buying the products, they're getting me because they can see me taking the time to really dig deep on their why and they can see the kind of experience I'm going to give them because I'm telling them what's going to happen in the group in step 4. So it really creates a much higher perceived value because it is, the things that accountability and that little challenge group is, it's priceless, because I don't give too much, I was going to swear, I don't give a blank about the Success Club points or the commission, and I think they can tell that when I'm talking to them. They can tell that I'm not really concerned about that they can tell that I'm more kind of my job isn't to sell. My job starts once they buy. And so they buy more often. And so I hit Success Club more often. And then when they get in the group, and I'm giving them that really cool experience in my challenge group, then they're more likely to get better results. They're more likely to want to give that experience to other people. So they're more likely to become a coach. And when they become a coach, they're a better coach because they end up giving that same experience to their people, that I gave to them. So for me, like really the foundation of my business is that experience that I give people in that challenge group. And what I do in my challenge groups is much more intense than what is going on in that free group, which is just me posting one little thing, each day.
Sure. So what happens when people say, no, not right now, excuse? Let's say you invited 20 people into your group this week and next week you start that conversation and one of the 20 wants to move on at that time and the other 19 don't. What do you do with the other 19? You just leave them in the group and then you take them through the system again next month? And
they'll stay in that free group. And it depends on like what I always ask for permission to follow up with them in a month. So like if they say, I can't do it right now for X, Y, and Z, I try to say, the feel, felt, found. I say, I know how you feel. I felt the same way. But what I found is this. And, so I try to handle the objection. And then if they still push back and it's not their thing, I go, that I totally get it. Just remember that, it's only $4 a day. And I tell my people to work that into their budget. And I know people that are spending more than $4 a day on their coffee. So, but is it okay if I reach out to you next month to see if anything changes? And they always say, sure, that's fine. And so, then I would, make sure I would just kind of look through my list as my next challenge group was starting the next month. And when I say my list, it was, kind of looking through the people in my challenge group. I'd go into members in that group, and it was listed by join date. So I could kind of look at it that way. Not the most organized thing in the world.
Right. Yeah. I was wondering that. Okay. That's cool. So can you talk more about the Instagram? You kind of said that you just search for hashtags, like what hashtags, and I don't even know, I don't use Instagram. So how do you message somebody in Instagram, and does it go into another folder, or do they see it?
No, they see it. Yeah, they see it. There's no other folder on Instagram, which is cool. So I really started, I love that aspect of it because more people saw what I was sending them. So yeah, you can search, anything on Instagram. You can even search by location now, because people, when they post a photo, they'll pick where they're posting it. So you can search not just by hashtag, but by a certain city, and see all the recent photos that were posted, with that geo tag or with that hashtag, and just kind of look to see which photos caught my eye. And I'd go to their profile and I'd just kind of look at it, and I'd 2 or 3 of their photos. And then you can just, when you're on their Instagram page, you can send them a private message, and I would just message them and just say, hey, I came across your page, think it's really cool. Looks like you're, into, fitness or, into whatever your hobbies are that you're looking up. And, I got this cool, I don't know if you're on Facebook, but I got this private little community on Facebook where we're all sharing, different workouts and recipes. And, I think you'd love it if I can throw you in there if you want to check it out. So, and there's actually a website called instagress.com that you can put in which hashtags you want it to automatically look for, and it'll go look for the photos that have those hashtags, and it'll automatically like those photos. And you can also do auto comment. I don't do that. I don't think that doesn't really work so well. I just do the auto like. So people are like, who's this guy that liked my photo? And it's liking photos 24/7, 365. So it's who's this guy that liked my photo? They go to my page and they like some of my stuff, or they start following me. And that's why I have, that's over 10,000 followers on Instagram, is because Instagress is bringing all these people to me, because they're like, who's this guy that liked my photo? Let me go see who he is. And then they, if they want to follow me, they do. And then when I get new followers, I go to their page and like some of their stuff and send them a message or comment on some of their photos.
Okay, cool. And then you share on Instagram then? Like you said, you weren't sharing on Facebook, but you share on Instagram?
Yeah. So now, I'm getting ready to, this is when I'm getting ready to leave my job, because really the big reason I didn't want to post on my Facebook was because, I was on a career path, right? And and I'm friends with all my coworkers, and if they saw that, I don't know, I think looking back now, I wish I had probably done it, sooner. But I didn't. But so, yeah, I didn't really use Instagram in the beginning. I didn't really start using Instagram until I kind of had started getting closer to leaving my job. Yeah. And then I started using it more often. But before that, it was just that, the P90X, Insanity fan page, the customer leads, those things.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Patrick, I just have a question about your free group, if you don't mind.
Yeah, for sure.
I kind of have a free group of the same nature. It's full of enthusiasts that are familiar with the programs.
Nice.
I have this mental image of how big that group should be. And what happens when it hits a threshold, I kind of, I communicate with people who are inactive, and I end up removing them from the group, and I'm trying to hold the group to a fixed number. Did you let your group just grow into the hundreds? How big did you let it go, and what did you do with the people who just disappeared and were inactive?
I let them, stay in there because, they're still watching. There's a lot of people, I think 99% of people on Facebook are just watchers.
Yeah.
I get people all the time that, I'll go home for, in the summer or something, and someone will come up to me and say, oh yeah, I've been seeing you do this and that. And I'm like, this person's never liked or commented anything I've ever posted. Mm-hmm. So, I think I probably wouldn't take people out of the group. I would leave them in there because, they can still watch.
Yeah. I guess what I think is when I add new people to a group, that if it's a couple hundred people, they look at it like, oh, this is a huge anonymous group, I'm not going to talk. And that's what I think they're going to think.
Right. So. Right. So, and I kind of, feel the same way, but what I do is I try to get them to introduce themselves. Yeah. And that's like that first step of them getting out of their comfort zone. And and if they don't introduce themselves when I ask, I just follow up. I say, hey, just want to see if you when you get a chance, just share a little bit about yourself. And then they do it, and there's always like 20 people that like it. I'm sure like in a group your size, you probably get 20 people that like the intro, and all of a sudden they got 20 new people that that are their friends, kind of, and they're more excited. And then then I reach out and I say, hey, what do you like about the group so far? And they're like, oh, I like that, the people are into it, and people, and then it's like, oh, I'd love, if you could kind of take a co-leader role, if that's cool with you. So, I think that's what gets people, into a group when there's like hundreds of people in there and there's not like hundreds of people commenting, but the new people get in there and they're excited because they get out of their comfort zone with the intro and people start liking it. And so they stay active in the beginning for a while. And, and then, I want to make sure I introduce them to a challenge group before that excitement starts to wear off. So sure. Usually I'll wait I only wait like a week or two, depending on like when that next challenge group starts.
Right. Yeah. I might have to just start leaving people in there. I've been, removing people just to
and then what happened was, like the people that in the group, some of them would become coaches. Right. So then they would start adding their people to the group. Right. And then, so it got even bigger. So then eventually, once in a while we'd say, hey, like, it took a little, it took like an hour to have to move like all of your people, because you could see who you added, because it says who added. So it would take maybe like an hour, but you could move like a coach was like, all right, I'm ready to, run my own group and be my own leader and, and be the post in that little accountability thread every day. So they'd move everyone over to their group and they'd start doing their little accountability thread. So that like knocked the number down a little bit each time a coach would leave and take the people.
Yeah. All right.
That's what I was wondering, because if you were posting about your upcoming challenge group in the group and then there was multiple coaches that were adding into it, how did you?
I don't really though. I didn't ever, and I still don't really post about challenge groups in the free group. I only invite like private message.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe I should. I probably should, but I don't know. I think I just always have done just reaching out to people privately. But what I will do is when someone does leave that's in the big group and does a challenge group, I always ask them to post in the big group about, what they love, what they're loving about that smaller challenge group, so they come back into the big group and they're like, oh my God, like I just went over here to this little other smaller group and it was like so cool, blah, blah, blah. And then, gets the excitement up with the other people that said no that month.
Oh, great idea.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'll tell you, like, the thing, I think what I didn't tell you was, for like 4 years, I didn't have a lot of success with the business, right? I've been a coach over 8 years, a little over 8 years now. First 4 years, not a ton of success. The last 4 years, hit elite and all that good stuff. And really the only difference was I didn't like change what I was doing really. I just changed how often I was messaging those, 20 people every day from the different Facebook groups. Like in the first few years, I was only reaching out to people, after, I'd go to an event or get off a call and I'd get excited. So I'd reach out to people for like a couple of days and then I'd get back into life and, life would get in the way. And I'd have a free group, but I wouldn't really be posting in there all the time. And so I never really got much momentum. as soon as I said, all right, like I'm just going to commit to this thing full, like every day, I'm going to invite at least 20 people every day. And I just started doing that. Like I was saying, I didn't see the results of it in the beginning, but I had read the book, The Slight Edge. So I knew you can't see the results, but if you just do those little things every day, it kind of compounds over time, and then eventually you see it. So I knew that, and I just kind of stuck with it. I met, some coaches that were having a lot of success that signed up after me, and I wasn't having success, but they had signed up after me, and they were. And so I met them and I talked to them, and I didn't have them on a pedestal. I realized they weren't doing anything like rocket science. Like they were just, the only difference between them and me was, they did it every day. I did it only when I felt like it. And that was the difference. So I finally got pissed off at myself and was like seeing all these other people start after me and stay consistent and get these co-leaders and get these co-leaders that turned into coaches. And all of a sudden they had like, 1 or 2 leaders on their team. And then, 2 or 3 leaders turned into 6 leaders. And I'm still just kind of taking breaks, not doing anything. And I was like, you know what? Like, I'm just going to go all in on this and just commit to it every day and show up every day. And I knew it was eventually going to happen. So a great analogy I use is, have any of you guys ever tried to run like up an escalator that's going down? Any troublemakers on this call? So like when I was a kid at the mall, I used to do that. Like I would be at the mall with my mom or something, and we'd be going up, and she'd take the escalator that's going up, and I would try to run up the one that was going down to try to see if I could get up there. So in the beginning, like when you first get on an escalator that's going down and you're trying to go up, like you're excited, right? It's kind of fun, and you're like running full speed, and then you're all of a sudden like starting to realize like I've been running kind of full speed for a while, and like I'm not really moving anywhere, and then that's kind of what happens in the business. Like you get in and you're excited and you're running like crazy and you're inviting. And what you don't realize is people need to watch you for a while before they say yes. They're going to say no, which means not yet, which really means I need to watch you and you need to prove to me what this is. And then if I see you stay consistent for a few more months, then I'm going to turn that no into a yes. And that's just how the business works. And you got to understand that. But what do most coaches do? They invite and they're going really fast, and then they get kind of discouraged because the yeses aren't coming as fast as they want, so they take a break. Like I did for 4 years. I kept taking breaks. And what happens when you're on an escalator that's going down and you stop? When you come back, do you get to start where you left off? Nope. You go all the way back to the bottom. So that's what I did to myself over and over was I would be running, I'd be planting all these seeds, and people would start kind of watching, because a no is a good thing. When someone tells you no, that's a good thing, because now they're going to watch you closer. That's a seed that you just planted. And now what I did was I planted all these seeds, and then I'd stop, and then they'd see me stop, and I lost all my credibility. I lost their trust, right? And that's why the escalator brought me all the way back to the bottom. And when I'd come back, I had to start all over again. I had to regain their trust and regain that credibility. And I just got so sick and tired of taking breaks and going up and down this escalator that I said, you know what, like I'm just going to get back on this thing, and I'm not going to stop. I'm just not going to stop. And I'm going to stay consistent with my own little healthy lifestyle, with my own healthy mindset, personal development every day, working out every day, eating right every day. And I'm not going to do that because I'm trying to build a business. Yes, I want to build a business, but I'm doing that because I just want to be a physical and mental badass. So I'm going to do those things every day. And if other people want to get on board with that, cool. And if they don't, that's fine too. So I finally said to myself, I'm getting back on this escalator, and I'm not going to stop. And I knew that if I just, did it long enough, it was inevitable that eventually I was going to find a few people that wanted to join me on this coaching journey. And, once you find one, now there's 2 of you looking to find the next. So you find the 3rd one faster. And then when there's 3 of you looking for the next, you find the 4th even faster. And then there's 4, so then you find the 5th even faster. The hardest part's finding the first one. That's the hard part, and that's just going to come from proving to people that this is a real business and you're serious. And the only way you can prove that to them is by showing up every day for 6 months, a lot of times, sometimes 12 months before they're going to say yes, without taking those breaks. So that's just kind of how I learned. And another reason I knew that was because, when I was 10 years old and I was probably like in 5th grade, there was this competition at school. And it was if you could sell 20 magazine subscriptions, you'd win a ride in a limousine. I'm 10 years old. I've never been in a limo. I don't even think I had ever seen a limousine, right? But as soon as like the bell rang, I sprinted out of the school and I started knocking on doors. I'd knock on the first door and they'd say no. And I'd say, thank you very much. And I'd go to the next door and they'd say no. And I knew that if I just knocked on enough doors, eventually I'd get 20 yeses, right? I knew that probably would have to knock on a lot of doors, but the only way I wouldn't get 20 yeses if I quit, right? And I didn't know it at the time, but my mom had started calling around the neighborhood trying to figure out where I was. She was nervous because I'm 10 years old and I usually come home right after school. It's getting dark out at this point because I'm getting a lot of no's, and she's starting to freak out a little bit. She's calling my friends' parents. She's calling her friends. No one's really seen me. And so I finally come home. It's probably, it's really dark out at this point, and I'm walking up the driveway, and she's like partly pissed, partly like a nervous wreck, partly, excited to see me. And all I remember is I was just so excited to hold up the sheet of paper with the 20 names that I got of the people that bought the subscription to the magazine to show her that I had won the limousine ride. So when I started this business, I knew it was the exact same thing. I knew that the only way I wouldn't be successful with this thing is if I just didn't knock on enough doors. And, that's the only way you can mess this business up, because there's no boss that's going to tell you you're not going fast enough. There's no boss that's going to tell you that, you're not good enough and that you're fired or anything. You are the boss. So you get to, the only way you mess it up is if you just stop trying. And if you just stop showing up, if you stop inviting, you stop growing, you stop doing your own workouts, your own nutrition. And I knew that if I just showed up every day, it was inevitable I'd find those people. So I just kept knocking on doors.
Yeah, I love that. And that was kind of my approach too. And then that's been my approach for the last 6 years. Now, a problem that I see, and wonder if you see it too, is, what you're doing is a lot of work, right? To people, right? It's not like, some of the top 10 girl coaches say, I just post on social media and people come to me. I don't have to go talk to anybody. But what you're doing and what I do is, I have to go out and find people and message them and bring them in and
right.
do 20 a day like you do. Now, right. What do you do? Like, your coaches, do they sign up for that? Or, how do you handle that?
Oh yeah, for sure. I teach my coaches 2 things. I'm a pretty simple guy. Like, I keep things so simple. So I teach them, the first thing is I teach them the big picture, which is, anytime someone comes to me and they say, what's the secret to this business? If it's a guy, they go, I don't want to hear your spiel. I don't want to hear the fluff. Just how do you build a 6-figure income with this business? I tell them it comes down to one thing: develop leaders, develop 2 or 3 good leaders, that don't need you anymore, and you're going to build a 6-figure income business. So, but again, like, the only way you're going to eventually find those 2 or 3 people are pretty smart. They're people that are going to sit back and watch to make sure that this is real and that you're serious. And the way you prove that, again, is staying on the escalator. Can't take breaks, right? Or all those seeds you plant are to waste. So the first thing I teach them is that mindset, that I call it the escalator mindset. And then the second thing I teach them are the 5 simple skills. Because I think a lot of coaches try to overcomplicate the business. They look around and they go, I don't know if I know everything I need to know. And they get kind of paralyzed. And then they think to themselves, if I get a coach, oh my God, like, that's so scary. I don't even know what I'm doing. How am I going to teach a coach? So I teach them, if they can master these 5 skills, and then they're going to rock the business. If they can master these 5 skills and help their coaches master these 5 skills, then they don't have to look around and wonder if there's something they're missing. They're going to crush it. So I kind of give them a bit of a tunnel vision. So the 5 skills are, the first is, and this is funny because I didn't do this, but the first skill is sharing your journey on social media. And so that can be on your public page, or it can be in your private group, but you gotta be showing up every day. And the way I showed up every day was in my private group, with my work. I was doing my workout every day, commenting and posting that daily thread. So, and what I've learned now is, I've gotten better at posting on social media, and sharing my journey on social media. And one thing I know that almost every Beachbody coach gets wrong, that I got wrong a lot, is there's kind of two parts of what you share. There's like the thing you're excited about, the solution you found for, for your fitness or for finances. And that's all people talk about. The other part of it is like the things that you're trying to overcome, like the struggles that you're trying to overcome, whether it's your fitness or your finances or a job you feel like you're locked in. And so Beachbody coaches, they only talk about the good stuff that they're so excited about. But there's so many other people that are stuck like in the crap. They're still in the crap, so they can't relate to you being all excited. You got to go meet them in the crap. You got to go meet them in the shit, right? Because that's where they're at. So you got to post about the things that you're struggling with. You got to post about the things that you don't like, post about the things you didn't like, because then people are like, all right, I can relate to them because I don't like that thing. I'm stuck in this same situation. I'm feeling not healthy either. I'm feeling lethargic. I can relate to what this person's posting. And then you have that rapport, and then they're willing to listen to what you're so excited about, that solution part. But you got to post about that stuff, meet them in the shit, right? So that's the first skill, just getting better at that. And the other thing, with that first skill that I really messed up was, and I'm sure you guys probably feel the same way, there's probably like, the reason you guys don't post is there's probably like one or two people in your life that you're worried about what they'll think, right? And so what I did was I let those one or two people dictate what I posted on social media. Basically, I let those one or two people dictate my success in this business and the impact I had on people's lives, right? Instead of letting the thousands and millions of other people that would have loved to know about a free Facebook community with some like-minded people, I started letting those millions of people dictate what I posted. And if those one or two people didn't like what I posted, they could, do me a favor and unfriend me. Right. So that's the first kind of skill, is just getting better at that. The second skill is what you asked me about, is you got to connect with new people each day. Like if you're doing a great job of sharing your journey on social media and all that, but you're not connected with new people every day, you're going to get the same 3 people liking your photos every day, your mom, your grandma, your aunt or something. Right. So I teach my coaches how to go and find people and connect with them every day. Right. And that's through, Facebook groups. I show them how to go and do Facebook suggested friends. You can filter the suggested friends based on city, occupation, school, all these different things. You can go to your friends' Facebook pages and go to see who their friends are that you're not friends with. And there's going to be some friends of theirs that you have like 10 or 12 mutual friends with, but you're not friends with that person. So you can, friend that person, because there's like, only 1 degree of separation there. So that's a great way to connect with new people. Instagram, the Instagress thing's a great way. If someone's not on Instagram, I just say, focus on it. Facebook, you don't need Instagram right now. So yeah, that's huge. Like that's the second skill. You got to be connecting with new people each day. And it doesn't take a ton of time, like 20 minutes. I'm going on there and connecting with 20 people in 20 minutes, right? Like messaging 20 people. The third skill then is the inviting, to the free group and to the challenge group. And, in that invite to the free group and then inviting to the challenge group, that's that 5-step invite process, and showing people that you're not trying to just sell something, that you're inviting them to a real experience, that they're not just paying for the challenge pack, they're paying for you. So that's the third skill I teach them. And then the fourth and fifth skill, I don't teach them right away. So I tell them, I go, hey, okay, you got the big picture mindset. You got to find 2 or 3 leaders. That's, the only way you're not going to find 2 or 3 leaders if you quit. Stop sharing your journey on social media. Stop inviting, stop connecting, right? The escalator mindset. And then it's like, here's your 3 skills that you got to focus on. Number 1, start sharing in your private group or on your social media. Number 2, you got to be connecting with new people each day. And number 3, you got to be inviting your warm market, to be a part of a free group and then eventually a challenge group, right? So now they're like just focused on those little things, and it's not like a huge time commitment to do those 3 skills, the posting, the connecting with new people, and inviting to a free group. That doesn't, you can do that in an hour a day. And then the fourth and the fifth skill, I'll teach them later, which the fourth is, giving your people a great experience in the challenge group, how I run a challenge group, what I post in the challenge group. And then the fifth skill is how to introduce people to the coaching opportunity. So if, once a coach gets comfortable with those 5 skills, then they're going to rock the business. But if there's like one of those that they can't really grasp, then there's like a hole in it, and it's a mathematical equation. It's just not going to get the right answer. So I'm constantly talking to my coaches about, hey, where are you at with these 5 skills on a scale of 1 to 10? With this one, on a scale of 1 to 10 with this one. And my goal is to get them to like an 8 with all 5. And if they're at an 8 with those 5 little skills, then they're gonna kill it. And when they bring a coach in, they don't have to feel nervous about training a coach, because all they got to do is just get their coaches comfortable with those 5 things by teaching them exactly what they're doing, in those 5 simple skills. So because that's the business, it's that escalator mindset and those 5 simple skills. It's not like people are looking around trying to figure out what they're doing. It's like, it's all right here. Anything you're trying to figure out and add to that is going to fit into one of those 5 buckets. So I think they can wrap their head around it and they feel comfortable, and it's not, and that, I think the thing that paralyzes coaches more than anything is they feel like they don't know what they're doing, or they're missing something. So.
Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, I definitely see that as one strategy that obviously probably 90% use, but then the other strategy was the thing that you started with, right? Which was, I think a lot of coaches who are paralyzed could use your initial strategy and become successful, because that's exactly how I did it. Right. I was terrified to post on Facebook and to send people friend requests that I didn't know, but I could go out and message people a day, because I didn't know them, and I didn't care if they deleted my message or responded, So I think that's brilliant. Yeah,
totally. And I tell people that, if they're not comfortable with posting, or they have some reason they don't want to, I tell them they don't have to.
Yeah.
I didn't.
All right. Does anybody have any other questions before we wrap up? It's almost 10 o'clock.
What kind of content do you offer in that free group? Is it a daily kind of thing, or is it different each month?
The free group is just a daily thread, the day of the week and what was your workout today. And then once in a while now, I have like an assistant that I got through elance.com, and I started him at like $3 an hour, and he's like the richest guy in the Ukraine. Even it's great, it's weird, but yeah, he'll post that that little daily photo each day, and I gave him a raise to $4, and now he's at $5 an hour, and he's like literally just bought like this huge apartment, and he's all pumped up. But yeah, he'll post that little daily thing. And the other thing he started posting now is he's going to like the 21-day fix Facebook page, like 2 or 3 times a week, and he grabs a before and after photo with a little blurb about the person, and he'll post that in the group too. That's really it. And then I go in there every day personally, and I comment with my workout. Yeah.
Cool.
Can I ask, what are you offering in your challenge groups? How are you keeping people engaged and really?
We're going to need another hour. No, I'm kidding. I actually have like a video I made that goes into like kind of into detail about that. Hold on, I'll give you the high level thing, but I'll share this. I'll share this video with you in the comments here if I can. Let's see. Okay, so that's the YouTube video you can watch, but basically, I have a prep week, and during the prep week, I'm asking them fun questions, getting them out of their comfort zone, getting to know each other. I'm getting them comfortable with the containers and I'm doing some voice texts I talk about that in that video. And then in the actual, once the prep week's over, then I'm posting a couple things. One is the daily photo with the day of the week, comment with your workout kind of thing. The second thing is, Darren Hardy, the guy that wrote The Compound Effect. I know that's Greg's favorite book. He has these little Darren dailies that are 2-3 minutes that you can get texted to you. I post that in the challenge group every day, and I ask people to comment with their top takeaway on that. And then the other thing that my assistant will post is every day a consistency recognition that has everyone's name and 2 numbers next to their name, that says, the first column is how many days they've commented with their workout, and the second is how many times they've commented with their top takeaway from the Darren Daily. And so by the end of 21 days, hopefully everyone's got a 21 and a 21. And those are the people that I'm going to really focus on the coaching opportunity with, because they got the fitness down, they're consistent with the commenting in the group, encouraging the other members, they got the nutrition down, and they got the personal development from Darren Hardy, those little Darren dailies are great. They're a lot to do with someone who wants to be an entrepreneur, so they're getting a little bit of everything in that 21 days. That's kind of like setting them up to have such a great experience and a mindset shift and everything that, they're going to want to keep going, and maybe even start to, invite other people to have that kind of experience that they had, and those are the people that make the best coaches.
All right. Well, we'll wrap up since it's after 10. So thank you very much, Patrick. I know I learned a lot. I hope other coaches learned and took away some good things.
Yeah, you guys are welcome. It was fun. Thanks for having me on there.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thanks. Thank you, Patrick.
You got it. Cool. Thank you. All right, guys. Have a good rest of your night. I'll see some of you guys at maybe Punta Cana or Summit or something.
All right, man. Later.
All right, good night.
Good.